Alright, monk subclasses. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this one. Everybody just loved their kung fu fighting apparently. Well, having played monks a few times myself, I can definitely see why. In my opinion, they are the second craziest class after the wizards. Run on water, stun enemies with punches, speak all languages, what can't they do? Wearing armor I guess, but that's nothing really. The basic monk class is already pretty powerful. Flurry of blows, stunning strike, evasion, timeless body, etc. allows them to hit hard and be able to stand against some heavy punishment. And you should keep that in mind when looking at some of the subclasses here. Even though some are just thematic and doesn't increase the monk's power levels by much, they remain strong due to the monk's base features. Your character doesn't have to be super powerful to be fun. Okay, yeah, some of you may have caught on. I'm saying this only to preempt your imminent disappointment for one particular subclass, the Way of the Drunken Master. It's really not very good, but I want to soften the blow to people who actually want to play it. You know what? It's okay, my friends. Go ahead and play it. All that matters is that you have fun. This subclass is mostly thematic. The features that come with it are exactly the things you would expect out of old kung fu movies, but they are somewhat impractical, and their usefulness is very situational. Their drunken technique gives them the benefit of disengage and gives them extra 10 feet of movement speed when they use flurry of blows. That sounds alright, but at higher levels, their features get consistently less impressive. They only use 5 feet of movement when standing up from being prone. When an enemy misses a melee attack directed at them, the monk can redirect it to another target. Their final subclass feature lets them use flurry of blows to attack up to 5 times if each attack is directed at different creatures. But what are the chances of getting into that situation? They also get a feature that lets them nullify disadvantage on ability check, attack roll or saving throw. It can be useful, but at the cost of 2 key points, it's a bit too steep. The biggest problem with this subclass is that the designer can't seem to decide whether the Drunken Master should be optimized to move away from enemies or to go up against multiple enemies. Those are 2 opposing playstyles, and they should have stuck with one. I think this subclass can be easily fixed if they replace the disengage action that comes with the flurry of blows with a dodge action instead, to give enemies disadvantage attacking them. It would deliver a clear message that this subclass is designed to go up against multiple enemies. At this current state, this subclass is just underwhelming. It's a little weak, and the design intention is a bit all over the place. It's kinda thematic in that regards, I suppose, but you can just pick the Way of the Open Hand Monk and roleplay being drunk all the time. That way, you can have your team and still be useful. Next up, the Way of the Long Death. These monks have morbid interest in death and its mechanics. Thus, it gives them power over it. These monks can take hit and keep coming back for more. They are like the monk version of The Undertaker, the WWE wrestler. If they reduce a creature within 5 feet of them to 0 hit points, they gain temporary hit points equal to their wisdom modifier and monk level. At level 11, whenever they are reduced to 0 hit points, they can spend 1 key point and be left at 1 hit point instead. So if they have any key points remaining, they just won't go down. That's some freaky powers there. Staying within team, they also get a feature that lets them cause fear to any nearby creatures that failed their wisdom saving throw for a turn. And they can do this every turn. It's the best way to get a good seat in a tavern. Their final feature is a finisher move. They can touch an enemy and channel death energy into them. They can spend from 1 to 10 key points on this move, and for every key point spent, they deal 2d10 of necrotic damage. Enemies that succeed their concentration saving throw can reduce the damage by half. Almost like the Open Hand Monk's Quivering Palm feature, but uses more key points. The advantage this feature has over the Quivering Palm is that it does not require the monk to hit their target first, and it doesn't require an action to activate the effect. So putting the convenience into account, they are just about equally good. Going back to Xanathar's guide, we have the Kensei. Kensei is actually a Japanese word that means sword saint. It is a title given to those who have perfected their art of swordsmanship to godlike level. A famous example of a Kensei in history is Miyamoto Musashi, who was reputedly undefeatable in his whole career. The Kensei subclass, however, takes a more holistic approach towards weapon mastery, and they are not just limited to sword mastery or even melee weapons. They can pick melee and ranged weapons, such as longbow as their Kensei weapon. they get to pick more as they level up, but can't choose weapons with a heavy or special property, except for the longbow. So it means that they can't choose heavy melee weapons like Greatsword that can deal maximum of 12 points of damage. The highest damage from their available selection of weapons is 1d10 from versatile weapons. As the monk's martial arts damage dice increase to a maximum of 1d10, it means that these Kensei weapons only provide a slightly better damage increment until the martial arts damage dice catches up. But by then, they will get Sharpen the Blade feature that can turn their Kensei weapons into magic weapons. They can spend up to 3 key points to turn their weapon into a +3 magic weapon, making it slightly better than their regular martial arts damage dice again. In general, if you put all the features of this class into good use, it will do more damage than the base monk, but the virtue of better bonuses or more accuracy from their features like unerring accuracy. However, the best function of this class is that it makes the monk a lot more flexible in combat. They can use Agile Parry to replace one Kensei weapon attack with an unarmed attack for a +2 increase in armor class, and they can increase the damage of their ranged attack to make it slightly closer to their melee. So depending on the situation, they can choose to be more defensive or fight at long range. This subclass is just generally good. Next subclass. It's the right team, but that's not the right image. Here we go. The Way of the Sun Soul Monk. I think you all get the idea. This subclass is really just an excuse to play a Dragon Ball character in D&D. It is actually a pretty decent subclass too. They can shoot magical bolts of radiant energy as their attack, and it can be used to replace their unarmed martial arts attack, so they get the choice to attack from 30 feet away. Later on, they get Searing Arc Strike, which lets them spend 2 key points to use their bonus action to cast the Burning Hand spell. So they can make their standard attacks before using Searing Arc Strike to finish off their enemies with an area of effect spell. Yelling out attack names is optional, by the way. Don't do it so much until it gets annoying. Later on, they get Searing Sunburst. They can create a magical orb to hurl at enemies. It does only 2d6 of damage and has 20 feet radius area of effect, but the monk can increase the damage by 2d6 per key point spent, up to a maximum of 3 key points. So it's really like a flexible fireball spell for them. But the difference between this feature and fireball is that it doesn't hit enemies that are behind total cover, and it requires them to make a constitution saving throw. Stronger enemies usually have great constitution saving throw, and if they make the save, this feature doesn't do half damage like the fireball. The monsters just take no damage at all. Those drawbacks are the price for this feature's flexibility. At level 17, they get to turn into Super Saiyan. They get Sun Shield. It's a feature that lets them emit a luminous aura, and if a creature hits the monk with a melee attack, the monk can use their reaction to deal radiant damage to the creature, 5 plus their wisdom modifier. This feature can be activated and deactivated at will, and it also has obvious adventuring uses. The monk can now roleplay as a light bulb. Well, that's new. This subclass doesn't make the monk better at single target damage dealing than they already are, but it improves their range attack to the level of their melee and gives them area of effect damage options. It also increases their survivability because they don't have to endanger themselves in the front line if they don't have to. There's one thing I find interesting about the wording of the features in this subclass though. It's that most of the features here are explicitly described as magical, as according to Jeremy Crawford's advice, it means that those features can be nullified by anti-magic field. Of course, dungeon masters get to decide which key powers are considered magical, and they are often debated, but these features are very explicit if you ask me. So if you've got players playing a Sun Soul Monk, plan an encounter with anti-magic field involved to throw them a curveball. Alright, that's it for the subclass review. If you're new here, please subscribe and press the bell button so that you'll be notified when new videos like this are published. If you like Dungeons and Dragons, check out other videos in the channel. CJ, over and out.